Fellas, today we're going to be discussing who will be the next big thing in every UFC weight class. Now, next big thing, what I mean by that is who's going to be the next guy to dominate the division, win the belt, and just go on a streak of defenses. Now, some examples of this could be Alexander Volkanovski at featherweight, Israel Adesanya at middleweight, previously maybe Kamaru Usman at welterweight. Basically, the guy who's the champion and defends it, and no one can really come close to beating him. And we're going to be doing that in every single UFC weight class. And yeah, please let me know if you agree or disagree with these takes. But we're going to go in there with heavyweight. I'm going to go with Tom Aspinall. John Jones knows I exist. Marcin Tybura, he's a great guy, great fighter. Can't wait to fight him. Tom Aspinall definitely for heavyweight. He is, I believe he's going to be, I just can't see anyone beating Tom Aspinall. I think he beats everyone. He's beaten Spivak, he's beaten Volkov. Well, not even just beaten, dominated Spivak, dominated Volkov, and just recently at UFC London dominated, what's his name, Marcin Tybura. And I think he beats everyone else. I don't think John Jones is going to fight him. I think Jones and Stipe are going to retire after their fight at UFC 295. And I think Tom Aspinall is just going to rule the division from there. I think he beats Pavlovich with his grappling advantage because he's very balanced. He's the most balanced heavyweight in the world is Aspinall. He's got super fast striking. He's powerful. He's been doing grappling since he was like 6 years old. So he's been a grappler his entire life. And I think he's got the shortest fight time in UFC history. I think his average fight duration is like 2 minutes. He's finished, he's finished every single one of his opponents. He's undefeated in the UFC. And I'm not going to count the Curtis Blades loss because that was an injury. So he's a new breed of heavyweight. And we're not talking about Cyril Gane new breed of heavyweight where it's like he's good on the feet but he can't grapple to save his life. I'm talking a real new breed of heavyweight. The type, like no longer the stand and bang type of style the new breed of heavyweight that will dominate. And I just can't see him losing anytime soon. I think he beats. I can just see him winning the belt on a huge pay-per-view and just defending from there. And I think he just goes on a massive streak of defenses. Yeah, I don't see anyone really beating Aspinall anytime soon. The only way I can see Aspinall losing is if he gets clocked or chinned. Because one thing I will critique Aspinall for, and he did improve this in the Marcin Tybura fight, but he's shown in a lot of his fights that he tends to leave his chin wide up in the air. And that's a very dangerous thing to do in the heavyweight division. Because if someone like Pavlovich hits you in the chin while it's wide up in the air, I'm not sure how well Aspinall's going to be able to recover from that. But he's shown every sign to be a great champion, and I think he's just going to go on a streak. He kind of reminds me of the Alexander Volkanovski of the heavyweight division, except he gets more finishes than Volkanovski. But we need to see him face more tough competition. But I genuinely think he'll rule the division and continue being the best NPC. Light heavyweight, I'm going Magomed Ankalaev. I think he's just going to wrestle everyone. That's straight up my option. The UFC are going to do everything they can to keep Ankalaev away from the belt. They're gonna make Yuri Prohaska face Alex Pereira. They're probably gonna get Jamal Hill up there as well. But I think Ankalaev's going to rule the division when he finally gets his hands on a belt. He's going to beat Johnny Walker at UFC 295, and then he's just going to beat everyone from there. He's going to out-wrestle Pereira with ease. He's going to out-wrestle Yuri Prohaska, most likely beats Jamal Hill. And let's look at his UFC losses so far. I mean, he drew against Jan Blachowicz, but that should have been a win to Magomed Ankalaev. And the only loss he's got is against Paul Craig, who, let's be honest, if you lose to Paul Craig, that kind of counts as a win because Paul Craig tends to only beat good people. I mean, am I the only one noticing that? He beat Nikita Krylov, he beat Magomed Ankalaev, and he beat Jamal Hill, but then loses to Johnny Walker. So I think Ankalaev's going to be the next guy. He kind of reminds me of the Islam. And the thing is, he's not even bad on the feet. Like, he's not just one of these grapplers that just rely on grappling to win fights like Aljamain Sterling. He can genuinely survive on the feet. He's actually got a lot of knockouts on his resume. If you look at his record, he's got a lot of knockouts on there as well. So yeah, Magomed Ankalaev for me. I think he's going to eventually get another title shot, and I think he's just going to rule it. So for light heavyweight, yeah, Magomed Ankalaev. He kind of reminds me of the Islam Makhachev of the light heavyweight division. Like I said, he can stand, and yeah, and the only fight, like I said, he's ever lost is Paul Craig. And besides that, he's just gone on a massive streak. But yeah, I'm going to go Magomed Ankalaev. He does need to kind of sort out his submissions because he hasn't submitted anyone in the UFC. But I'm sure, with the grappler that he is, he'll do that. So for light heavyweight, I'm going with Ankalaev. Middleweight, I'm going with Khamzat Chimaev. But the reasoning for this is weird because I actually think that Khamzat Chimaev could lose to Paulo Costa at UFC 294. and I've already explained it in a video before, but the reasoning, basically the summary was, he struggled to out-grapple Gilbert Burns, who is kind of a small welterweight. So what's he going to do against Paulo Costa, who's a huge middleweight, kind of a light heavyweight? So I think he'll struggle, but apart from that, I think after he loses to Costa, I think he's gonna he's gonna change his mindset, and he's going to go on a massive streak of wins, and eventually he's gonna win the middleweight belt. Adesanya's probably not going to be fighting by the time he gets a title shot, assuming he loses to Costa. But if he does fight Adesanya, I see him winning. He's the best wrestler at middleweight, ranked, and I say ranked because Bo Nickel obviously is unranked. But if we're talking ranked opponents, he's the best wrestler at middleweight. He's never lost a fight in his life. He's genuinely got knockout power as well. I can see him sleeping someone one day. I can see him like sleeping. I don't know. Maybe Duplessis, maybe Whitaker. I don't know. I can see him knocking someone out though because they're too scared of the takedowns. And people are saying he's got double champ potential. Some people were even saying that he's going to be the first triple champ. But before he gets the triple champ, he needs to actually win a belt first. But I can see him ruling the middleweight division, and he runs through nearly everyone in the middleweight division because he's kind of just a new breed of middleweight. He's one of a kind. The only problem is I can see him, again, if he keeps winning and he doesn't lose or face any big adversity, I can see his ego just getting the better of him, and he just runs into the wrong guy and loses the fight. So he needs to keep his ego in check. But apart from that, he's got all the keys to be a dominating fighter at middleweight. So I'm going to go with Hamzat. Welterweight, I'm going to go with Shavkat Rakhmonov. Shavkat Rakhmonov is a unique fighter. He is one of the most unique fighters. He's very, very skilled. I think he's going to get a title shot within a few fights. He beats Kelvin Gastelum. I think that's on you. Is that a fight night? Or is that fight off? I think that fight's been called off now, actually. But if they do rebook that fight, I see him beating Kelvin Gastelum. But Shavkat Rakhmonov, he's very skilled. Not only is he undefeated, but he's actually finished every single opponent he's ever faced. He's never gone to a decision in his life, finished everybody. But the problem is he's yet to face proper adversity. Obviously, he beat Jeff Neal, he finished Jeff Neal, who, fair enough, Jeff Neal's not necessarily an easy opponent. I mean, he did lose to Neil Magny, but he also beat Neil Magny. And apart from that, he's finished every fighter in the UFC. He's good as well. He's got great submissions. 4 out of his 5 finishes in the UFC are by submission, and the other one's by KO. I think... Now, here's what I think will happen with Shavkat. I think he'll get to a Leon Edwards fight, and I think he might lose that fight, because one thing I can critique Shavkat on is his striking defense. He's got very little head movement, and I'm scared that if Leon Edwards cracks him with something, he's going to get TKO'd or something. But I feel like even after a loss, he's going to finish up his striking and perfect it, and I think after a loss against Edwards or something, he'll come back and continue dominating the division for a while. But I can see this guy being a champion in the future, 100%. I think he beats nearly every welterweight. Like I said, the only problems I have with him is against strikers, like elite strikers, because he doesn't really have the greatest head movement. And Leon Edwards, again, he's got great takedown defense. So I think Leon Edwards stylistically will be a very tough matchup for Shavkat. But apart from that, I think he'll go on a dominating streak. Maybe he'll, like I said, maybe he'll lose to Edwards once, but after that, I think he'll go on a streak. So Shavkat, I'm going with welterweight. Lightweight, I'm going with Alexander Volkanovski. What I think is going to happen is Volkanovski's going to beat Ilia Topuria, and then he's going to move up to lightweight and rematch Islam, or maybe Oliveira, but most likely Islam, and I think he's going to win. Before all you Islam fans start commenting saying I'm a hater, I do think Islam won the first fight. I think he won by a split decision in the first fight they had. But I think as Alexander Volkanovski beats him in the rematch, I think he's learned since then. He's the pound for pound best in the world, first of all. He's the most balanced fighter in the UFC. He's got great grappling, and obviously he's one of the best strikers. And I don't think anyone else beats him at lightweight. If besides Islam, I think he beats Oliveira, Gaethje, who else is there? Poirier, Fiziev, Dariush. I think he beats everyone at lightweight, and I think he'll go on a lightweight streak because he's going to get bored of featherweight, because he's already, like I said, he's already just dominated the featherweight division, and I think he'll do lightweight as well. As long as he beats Islam Makhachev in the rematch, I think he does that at lightweight as well. So I'm going to go with Alexander Volkanovski at lightweight. So yeah, I think Alexander Volkanovski is going to be the next breed of lightweight. Maybe his streak isn't as long as it was at featherweight, because obviously he's only got so much time in his career. He's only got so much time in his prime, so I don't think it'll be as long, but I do see him taking over the lightweight division. Featherweight, I'm going with Ilia Topuria. Now I say this because a couple of weeks ago I said that well, it might have not been a couple of weeks ago, but around a month ago, I said that I think Holloway is going to take over the division after Volkanovski. But after thinking about it, I don't think that's going to happen. I think Ilia Topuria will be the guy. I think he'll face Volkanovski later this year, and I think he'll lose. But then after he loses, I think they'll do something like maybe Ilia Topuria versus Max Holloway or something like that. They're going to give Holloway a title shot, and if it's against Topuria, I think Topuria wins. I think he beats Holloway stylistically. Obviously, Holloway, A-tier boxer, S-tier boxer, and he's got good takedown defense. Ilia Topuria, great wrestler, and he's really good inside the pocket. I think Ilia Topuria give Holloway some serious problems on the feet. I really do think he would. Holloway's been in the game a long time as well, so I'm not sure how long he has left. But I think Ilia Topuria eventually will win the belt and he'll defend against everyone. Holloway's the only... obviously, excluding Volkanovski, I think Holloway is the toughest fight for Ilia Topuria. Apart from that, I think he beats everyone. I think he beats Arnold Allen. I think he beats Yair Rodriguez. Anyone he goes against at featherweight, I think he beats, and I think he will go on a streak at featherweight. He's undefeated as well. He's on he's dominated all his recent opponents. Jai Herbert, what's his name? The Cowboy Donny, Bryce Mitchell, and obviously Josh Emmett recently. And I think he'll take the featherweight crown and go on a huge streak of defenses and continue to do that. I think, yeah, he's undefeated, and he's a very dangerous fighter as well. He's got knockout power. He's got finishing ability. He's a straight killer, and I think he'll take over the featherweight division after Volkanovski leaves. If it's not him, it's Max Holloway, but it's one of the two, and I'm gonna gamble. I'm gonna go with Ilia Topuria. Bantamweight, I'm going with Merab. Merab's just he's gonna use his 110% cardio and 100,000 takedowns per round to win, just like he did against PTN. Now, I like to use PTN as kind of like, my mic's being terrible, by the way. I think I'm going to use PTN as kind of like an example of how good Merab is. We saw PTN against Sterling, he barely lost. We saw PTN against O'Malley, he barely lost. We saw PTN against Merab, Merab dominated him. Yeah, Merab's he's just a different breed. I think he's got higher fight IQ than Sterling. Sterling's a very weird fighter. He's talented, but he's a bit weird. I think Merab's just going to take over. And he's not just going to decide to stand with elite strikers. If he fights someone like O'Malley, you got to guess he's going to go for a takedown immediately, and he's not going to stop going for takedowns. I don't think his finishing ability is quite poor. He can't really finish fights, but I think he'll just win a bunch of decisions and he'll beat everyone. I think he beats Sandhagen. I think he beats O'Malley. The only problem, the toughest test for him, in my opinion, stylistically, is Umar Nurmagomedov, but he's quite far away from a title shot. Actually, no, UFC are probably going to bless him and give him a title shot after his next fight, let's be honest. But I think he beats, what's his name, Marlon Vera. I think, yeah, Merab, I've got him winning every fight, and I think he's going to go on a massive streak. I can see him going on a massive streak in the bantamweight division. So I think he just out-grapples everyone, takes them down non-stop for every round, and beats them. I think he beats O'Malley. Unless O'Malley catches him, like... I mean, to be fair to Merab as well, he's got really good recovery. I mean, Marlon Moraes nearly finished him, but, you know, immediately Merab recovers and gets his get back. My mic has been terrible again. Anyway, yeah, I think he beats O'Malley, and I think he's going to take over the bantamweight division. And finally at flyweight. Now, I know I've kind of been mentioning this guy a little bit too much recently. I'm just going to go Mohammed Makayev. Listen, I can't stress it enough. Never lost a fight in his life. Undefeated as a pro, undefeated as an amateur. And he's a very dangerous fighter. I think he's finished 3 out of his 4 fights in the UFC. He's got so much heart as well. In his last fight in the UFC against, what's his name, Filio, I can't pronounce his last name, but the last fight in the UFC, his knee was so close to getting snapped, just didn't tap. Refuses to tap and ended up winning the fight by submission as well. He's dangerous. He's got knockout ability. He's got various knockouts on his record. He's quite powerful for a lightweight. He's also kind of got that Dagestani point fight wrestling type of style, but he's got great submission ability as well. I think he's going to eventually in the next few years take over the flyweight division and just beat everyone. The problem with the flyweight division right now is we need a champion who's just going to keep defending. Moreno can't defend, Figueiredo can't defend, Pantoja's got the belt now, so we'll see how he does against some contenders, but I think Mohammed Makayev's got the recipe to beat a lot of these people. His toughest test would be a guy like Pantoja who can grapple and he's genuinely powerful, so maybe Makayev needs to improve his striking a little bit, but I genuinely see him. He's very young as well. He's only like 22 years old, 21 years old. So, yeah, I see Makayev taking over in the flyweight division. We've got to realise this guy's going to be in the game for another 15 years. By the time this guy's hit like defending the champion, all the current flyweights are going to be gone. So I'm going to go with Mohammed Makayev. Huge prospect right now, but that is my list of the UFC fighters who I think will be the next big thing in every weight class. Please let me know if you agree or not. And yeah, thank you for watching.